Do you fancy a little bit of light activism? But you don't know where to start. Or maybe you've never ever thought of yourself as that kind of a person, the activist person. But you're a little bit intrigued. Or maybe you're already doing some kind of activism, but it's not quite kind of working out the way you'd hoped it would, and you need something to float your activism boat a little bit more. This is the video for you then. If you've never done it before, you've done a little bit. If you don't really know what activism is all about, but you've got a kind of yearning that you want to do something, this is the video for you. And to do that, I'm going to go to my local vegan fair and talk and find, if I'm lucky, some activists. Come along and check it out. I think one of the things that is really important for me is to try and get away from the concept that activists are this sort of like really dangerous and scary people doing dangerous and scary things, because obviously with the situation with other animals being so diabolical, it really needs ordinary people who may not even consider themselves or ourselves to be activists to step up and actually do something. So there's a lot of very friendly people here at the vegan fair, and I think I recognise a couple of faces. But actually I didn't recognise some people, and some people are just like waving and smiling at me randomly. But hey, this one's an activist. Supposing though you've got a new vegan and they want to do activism, but they don't literally know where to start, and they feel like, oh, I don't know. What might you suggest to them?
These days, I would just recommend go online. There's so much social media and accessibility out there. You will find your tribe, your people. Just put in a search. Say, for example, it is ocean activism. Put that in as a search and stuff will pop up locally for you. Like we do beach, I live by a beach. You could be landlocked. You've got rivers, we've got waterways. If it's like educating around dairy, for example, you will find your tribe, and we're very, very lucky we now have social media.
Right, so my name's Gail and I've been vegan since the beginning of 2017.
So that's what, 7 years?
Yeah.
And you're an activist as well?
I am, yeah. And I became active about 3 months after I went vegan. So there was a local group, AV, set up in Taunton, where I live, and I decided to go along to it. And that was it, that was the start. And although I don't do that particular activism anymore, I've gone on to do loads of other stuff, all sorts.
And how long after you went vegan did you become an activist?
I think it must have been a year later. It was around the time that the first lockdown started, and I think there was just a lot of introspectiveness going on at that point, generally across the board with lots of people. And one thing for me that happened was just thinking, well, I'm inside, I can't go out and do anything. When I can go outside, what more can I do to bring liberation to more animals that are stuck inside systems which just torture them?
Because I'd seen a few things online, it made me want to go and do something. And there wasn't anything local at that time until this popped up. And I thought, well, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And then once you get there and start talking to other people, that's it. There's no looking back. It was so easy.
Involved. So the first group that kind of replied to me were Animal Rebellion, and I think I was just under the impression that everyone was kind of operating in the same way. People had the same messaging, people had the same strategy, and then after a while I realised, well, no, that's obviously not the case. There's so many different vegan activism groups that go about their activism really differently.
I say you will find your people, and everyone will be so welcoming and supportive that you want to be part of things with them.
And I wasn't the sort of person that would go somewhere on my own and socialise. But I think because I felt so passionate about this, that made a difference. And you don't ever have to do anything you're uncomfortable with either. The AV was street activism in Taunton, so it was activists holding TV screens with footage from slaughterhouses, farms. They would hold the laptops or TVs, and then we had outreachers. So we had other activists that would talk to the public. If they stopped to look at a screen, you just strike up a general chat with them about it. So it was you weren't forcing anybody to stop. People stop of their own accord. You don't force them. And that made it easier.
So the first thing I started doing was just Googling vegan activism, ways to get involved. I was kind of just coming at it from no reference. No one had told me, oh, get involved in this thing. It was just me on my own, didn't really have any vegan friends, was just trying to find something that I could do alongside working and living and whatever else. So ended up getting in contact with, at the time, Animal Rebellion was the first thing I got involved in. Did some online volunteering for them, attended some of their protests. There was mostly meetings over Zoom, doing kind of like admin bits, trying to get volunteers involved, reaching out to people. It almost felt like I was in some kind of HR role. Mainly got involved with Animal Rebellion's protests. Occasionally turned up to other things by other groups, more as a sign of solidarity between the different vegan organisations. So my favourite form of activism is large-scale disruption. I think anything that brings the attention of the media or the government is what I like.
So because I've been lucky to meet other like-minded activists, it's really positive. You can go out with them and you do feel empowered to be there. I also feel perhaps some people think they've got to be an absolute expert and have all the knowledge or something. No, just your passion and your willingness to be there sometimes. Be a silent one, but be there to support others and learn and grow as you go along.
Every conversation's different because every member of the public always has something different to ask. And it kind of came naturally. You could start off by just holding a TV screen, not talking to the public. And that way you can listen to the conversations going on. And I remember doing that and thinking to myself, oh, I know what I would have said. And so you start building that up in your head. Even when you're not talking to anybody, you can shadow other activists, listen to what they say, and then you soon find your own way.
So it's really supporting and building each other up. Find the thing that means something to you, and others will feel that and that they will understand it. And hopefully, as I said previously, you plant that seed, they will go away and explore, where does my dairy come from?
My view of activism changed over time slightly because I was exposed to different types of activism. There was things that I saw more value in than others. Like I think my typical view of activism before getting involved in an actual group was more so that it was like outreach based. People were on the streets having debates with people, talking, kind of discussing that kind of thing. And I think my opinion changed more so because I was seeing the effect that disruptive activism was happening.
So that first action that you went on, did you actually start talking to people?
I did, surprisingly enough. I went along thinking, I won't talk to anybody. I'll stand with a TV screen. But also standing in that position for a long time is uncomfortable.
That if you don't like doing activism or outreach on the street, you can still be involved in vegan activism and not have to do outreach. There's loads of different ways that you can get involved where you don't have to be on on roads, talking to people, on like streets, outside shops, engaging with the public. I personally hate doing that, and it is something that is important, but you can get involved in doing behind the scenes work, things like contacting volunteers, setting up meetings, doing arts and crafts, getting behind designing flyers. There's so many different things that pretty much the whole range of vegan activism groups need people doing this stuff, not just people on the streets doing outreach. But the more you practice something, the better you get at it and the easier it becomes. So yeah, you're not going to get over that hurdle unless you go and face that hurdle, or just don't face it and do the background stuff that I like doing.
Finding like-minded people and doing as much or as little as you can. Some people are not comfortable doing face-to-face. Some people like to do, as I say, do letter writing, sharing information, planting seeds. That's a really, really key area of activism for me, is planting ideas and seeds with individuals. Let them grow and find out for themselves what it is and how they can become involved to effect change. I'm quite active with the Captain Paul Watson Foundation, just being promoted out as Neptune's Pirates after a breakaway from International Sea Shepherd. I'm very passionate about the ocean and sustaining and preserving life in it. Activism, if you've got free time, can be get training, get out on the boats and do direct stuff. Otherwise we do beach cleans, river cleans, and that is protecting our environment that we live in, but also a really great opportunity to meet other like-minded people, just have a chat so you don't feel isolated, and that can often empower into other activities. Promoting stuff online, sharing stuff online. You might not want to be the physical presence, but there's always a part you can play. You might be an absolute tech wizard of like producing pages, media, content for people to be able to share. So I would say I think everyone's got something they can offer. We're here at the vegan fair today. We were discussing earlier what percentage of people that come do we think are vegans, what percentage are vegan curious. So I do like to put myself into different arenas where they're not all vegans, where you can just start planting that seed. Just get someone to think about the lifestyle they live and how cruel versus how kind that is. Ever thought? Dairy is a brilliant one. Have you thought where your milk comes from? Why do you think cows produce so much milk? Hens are another with eggs. How many eggs do you believe a chicken would naturally lay? Most people are pretty intelligent. Get them to find out for themselves, because I believe if you find it for yourself without being preached at, you own it more. And it's, how many times do we hear the phrase, I hadn't thought of that, I hadn't thought of it like that. Join your local groups, see what those groups are involved in, and see if there's anything in there that floats your boat. So you might want to be a hunt sab. Contact your local sab group, just search it online, it's so easy. Come along to something like a vegan festival where there's all these stores and all these lovely people will talk to you, tell you about their groups, what they're involved in, and will absolutely welcome you in with open arms to join them. Vegan, spread the word with kindness, with curiosity, and often humour. It brings people alongside and make sure it doesn't set them against you.
You take care and you enjoy that activism. It's actually really fun. Not necessarily all the time, but you generally feel like, yeah, I'm really glad I made the effort. That was time well spent. And maybe you've had some nice chats. It's worth doing, give it a crack. The animals say, help us now.
Just like us. 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 Just like us.